Earth is currently facing a huge crisis due to an increase in insect population. In some places, insects have increased 400 times more than they were a few decades ago. And with their rise, we've seen disease outbreaks, crop failures, forest fires, and other problems that threaten our society. It seems that no matter what we do, the planet is just overrun with insects, which can make us wonder if there's any way to get rid of them all. So today, let's find out what would happen if all the insects suddenly disappeared from Earth. But before we begin, make sure you subscribe so you won't miss any new videos. As much as we hate to admit it, we depend on insects for many things. For example, most plants depend on insects to pollinate them, which means without insects, most plants couldn't produce fruits, vegetables, or even survive. That's because over the past 60 million years, plants and insects have co-evolved together, which means they've adapted to each other. As a result, it's estimated that 87% of flowering plants rely on animals for pollination, while 75% of those animals are insects. Although bees are responsible for pollinating about 1/3 of our crops, other insects like butterflies, moths, beetles, and flies play a vital role as well. Without insects to pollinate them, plants wouldn't be able to produce fruits and vegetables, which would lead to major food shortages for humans and other animals. Not only that, but since most trees also depend on insects to pollinate them, forests might disappear altogether. But wait, there's more. Insects are also a source of food for many animals, including birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, and mammals. If they suddenly disappeared, these animals would have to find another source of food, which may not be easy to find. In fact, according to National Geographic, insectivores are animals that feed mainly on insects, and they make up 15% of all land vertebrates. Without insects, these animals would likely go extinct, which would disrupt the food chain and cause even more problems. Another important thing to consider is that insects help decompose dead plants and recycle nutrients back into the soil. Without them, dead plants would accumulate and the soil would become infertile, making it difficult for new plants to grow. And although it may seem like insects are harmful and annoying, they actually help keep ecosystems healthy and balanced. In fact, scientists estimate that without insects, Earth's GDP would drop by $57 trillion annually. That's why it's crucial to protect them and ensure they can continue doing their important work. However, there is another side to this coin. As we mentioned earlier, insects can also cause serious problems for humans and other animals. For example, they can spread diseases like malaria and Zika, damage crops and forests, and infest homes and furniture. They can also trigger allergies and asthma attacks, and even bite or sting people, causing pain and swelling. Plus, insects can carry bacteria, viruses, and parasites that can make us sick. According to the World Health Organization, insects are responsible for over 700,000 deaths every year, mostly due to diseases like malaria, dengue fever, and Japanese encephalitis. In addition, insects cause significant damage to crops, which affects food security and economic growth, especially in developing countries. It's estimated that insects cause between 15 to 25% of global crop losses each year. But the problem doesn't end there. Insects can also infest homes and furniture, causing damage and discomfort to people. And let's not forget about the annoyance factor. Insects can be a real nuisance, buzzing around our heads, landing on our food, and generally getting in our way. All in all, it seems like insects have both positive and negative effects on our lives. And now let's imagine how the world would look like if all the insects suddenly disappeared. When it comes to agriculture, insect pollination is essential for producing many of the crops that we rely on. Without insects like bees and butterflies, plants like tomatoes, cucumbers, and almonds would struggle to reproduce, leading to lower yields or even crop failure. This could cause food shortages and drive up prices, making it more expensive for people to eat fresh produce. Instead, we might rely more on crops that don't need insects for pollination, like wheat, rice, and potatoes. But even these crops can be affected by the absence of insects, since they often need insects to prey on other insects that could otherwise damage the crops. The lack of natural predators could lead to outbreaks of plant diseases and pests, requiring farmers to use more pesticides. This could have negative consequences for the environment and human health, creating a vicious cycle of pest outbreaks and pesticide use. Overall, The disappearance of insects would significantly impact the agricultural industry, forcing us to change the way we grow and eat food. The consequences of losing insects would extend far beyond our plates. Ecosystems would be thrown into chaos without the help of insects. Many plants would die off since they rely on insects for pollination. This would affect the animals that depend on those plants for food and habitat, causing a ripple effect throughout the food chain. For example, if bees disappeared, flowering plants would be unable to reproduce, which would impact the butterflies that rely on those plants for food. In turn, this would affect the birds that eat the butterflies, causing their numbers to decline. Similarly, if beetles disappeared, the foxes that eat them would have to find other sources of food or starve. These changes would continue throughout the ecosystem, eventually affecting all living things. Insects also play a crucial role in nutrient cycling, breaking down dead organic matter and recycling essential nutrients back into the soil. Without them, nutrients would remain locked in dead organisms, preventing plants from accessing them. This could lead to a buildup of organic matter on the surface, eventually turning into a thick layer of compost. However, this process would take hundreds of years to occur since decomposing insects usually break down organic matter much faster. Additionally, the absence of insects could lead to the accumulation of dead animals since insects are responsible for cleaning up carcasses. This could cause diseases to spread and create an unhygienic environment. Furthermore, the decomposition of animal carcasses by insects helps release nutrients back into the ecosystem. Without this process, nutrients would remain trapped in the dead bodies, disrupting the balance of the ecosystem. The disappearance of insects would also have significant impacts on human society. Many cultures have deep connections to insects, incorporating them into their art, literature, and religious beliefs. For example, in Japan, the life cycle of the butterfly is a symbol of rebirth and resurrection, while the praying mantis is seen as a symbol of patience and stillness. The loss of these insects would not only affect biodiversity, but also the cultural heritage of humanity. Moreover, insects have been a source of medicine and food for many cultures throughout history. For example, in China, silkworm pupae have been used as a source of protein and vitamins, while in Mexico, the larvae of the agave plant are used to make a traditional dish called memelas. The disappearance of these insects would deprive many cultures of valuable resources that have been used for centuries. If insects disappeared from Earth, we would face a multitude of challenges. The food we eat, the clothes we wear, and the ecosystem we depend on would all be affected in profound ways. While some may see the loss of insects as a blessing, it's important to remember that every species has a role to play in maintaining the balance of nature. By understanding the importance of insects and taking steps to protect them, we can ensure that they continue to thrive and provide us with the countless benefits they offer. Now let's talk about what we can do to protect insects. First and foremost, we need to reduce the amount of pesticides and herbicides we use. These chemicals can be harmful to insects, damaging their nervous system and reproductive organs. We can also plant more trees and create more natural habitats for insects to live in. By providing insects with the resources they need to survive, we can help ensure that they're able to thrive and play their important roles in the ecosystem. Additionally, we can educate ourselves and others about the importance of insects and the threats they face. By raising awareness, we can inspire more people to take action and protect insects from extinction. Finally, we can support organizations that are working to protect insects and their habitats. By donating money or volunteering our time, we can help make a real difference in the fight to save insects. In conclusion, insects are a vital part of our planet and play a critical role in maintaining healthy ecosystems and ensuring the survival of our species. By taking action to protect them, we can ensure that insects continue to thrive and provide us with the many benefits they offer. Now it's your turn to share your thoughts. What would you do if all the insects suddenly disappeared from Earth? Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss any new videos. Thanks for watching.